And in some ways, I kind of like the fact that if you slow it down, you'll get some more from it.
Yeah.
That's why Canadian Lad does so well.
Yeah, everything's slow.
I watched this at 0.1% speed.
0.00001 speed. And I learned nothing.
I learned that I could speed this up a little bit and get the same amount of context.
I learned that if you slow things down enough, everything sounds like whale song.
What's going on there, Reject Nation? We are going to watch today from new Rockstar's Doctor Strange 2 Easter Eggs and Breakdown. The man E.A. Voss, follow him on Twitter. You can subscribe and click the notification bell for our channel, but more importantly, leave a like. That'd be very much appreciated. Let's see what's going on right now, people.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a movie that teaches us all a valuable lesson about what happens when Marvel fans dream too big. The Scarlet Witch will break all your toys and make you watch. Director Sam Raimi gave us the MCU's first true horror film that also rewrites the rules of the MCU in so many cool ways. So let's break down this movie scene by scene for the incredible attention to detail and deeper layer of meaning that you might have missed. So the Marvel Studios title card in this movie has been updated. The shots that previously showed Endgame moments have all been replaced with Wanda's Scarlet Witch power-up and WandaVision, and various shots of Doctor Strange from the 2016 film Infinity War and Endgame. The final shot on the M of Marvel Studios is Strange's final scene in the 2016 film, but in the inner top of the R was Wanda's team up with her family in
I caught that.
So this is actually the first time anything from a Disney Plus title has made it into the title card, just proving how important Wanda's experience with her kids from that show is to this movie. Also, fun to note that behind Wanda's family in that shot is the Westview Cinema with Oz the Great and Powerful playing, a 2013 movie also directed by Sam Raimi. Oz and its witches definitely have parallels in this movie's story. I'll get to that later. But the film opens in the Gap Junction as Defender Strange races with America Chavez toward the Book of Ashanti, fleeing this ribbony monster marked with runes. Later we learn a puppet marionetted by the Scarlet Witch. America Chavez is a young multiverse hopper from the comics who comes from the utopian parallel, and you'll notice how the opening words exchanged in this film are in Spanish, underlining Chavez's role as the first Latina superhero of the MCU, as well as the first LGBTQ plus superhero. Her star emblazoned jacket has a pride flag pin on it.
I actually think it'd be pretty cool to get a solo America Chavez film. I know that's not the thing that's really in demand right now, but I really found myself craving more from her character the second time watching this and seeing the world where she comes from. I don't know. Get a lot of lesbian love. How cool would that be to get in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie?
And then cut out of the Chinese cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. $1 billion.
Plus, you know, I just think Xochitl Gomez does such a great job, and I would like to see more of her. Or Young Avengers, whatever.
On her jacket is also written the phrase Amor es amor, Spanish for love is love. Now, the Book of Vishanti, also from the comics, is a book of positive counterspells, sharing its name with the seal of Vishanti, the shape formed by the window of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now, the Gap Junction is later described as a space between universes, and here it's presented as a sacred church-like plane, but now in ruins, as if the damage already done to the fabric of the multiverse in titles like Loki and Spider-Man No Way Home have taken a toll on this place. And this week, Marvel head Kevin Feige confirmed that the multiversal crises of those titles directly set the stage for the crisis of this film.
See, I just wish the movie itself had acknowledged that directly in some way. Way it really felt like more of Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that would be more elevated and felt versus having to look out for what Kevin Feige's saying in interviews.
Yeah, they connect if you read that quote.
The platform with the book on it has 16 walkways converging out from it, many of them broken off. A cool way of showing how all the universes that connect to this are all back doors leading to this one book, but many of those universes and those pathways have crumbled and eroded. Now, Defender Strange seems at first like the gallant to the goofists that we've known, multilingual, only using defensive spells like freezing and binding, hair tied back in a ponytail like the chillest barista ever. But we learn the constant among all strangers,
always spells your name right,
to sacrifice friends. In this case, America. He says, this is the only way. And in the grand calculus of the multiverse, your sacrifice before he gets cut off. Both of these lines being callbacks, linking this Strange variant to our Doctor Strange, who after sacrificing the Time Stone to Thanos in Infinity War told Tony Stark,
there was no other way.
And recently in Spider-Man No Way Home told these exact words to Peter Parker in relation to the deaths of Norman Osborn and the rest being necessary.
The grand calculus of the multiverse. Their sacrifice means infinitely more than their lives.
You know, that's something that Marvel can often sneak up on you without realizing, because I've had this talk with a few people, actually. Can you define for me, clear cut, what is Strange's character arc in this film? Like, what are some of the lessons that he's learned? Some are more obvious than others. Something that kind of flew over my head up until this breakdown was how this arc is a progressive from Infinity War to No Way Home to what we're getting here now versus establishing just where he's at now. The kind of like what they did with Hulk, having his arc appear through several films, and I didn't even really register like, oh, this has been occurring from the start of Infinity War, this idea of him having to, like, willing to sacrifice lives. That's just one layer to the arc, I think. Do you get where I'm getting at? Do you? Do you?
I don't understand whatsoever.
Really?
No, I absolutely
Do you?
do actually. I think it's a really nice thing that they've been able to.
It's a nice thing with Strange learn.
It's a really nice lesson.
Really nice. He learned to not kill America.
Yep. Yeah, you know, it's always a good day when you don't kill America.
But a fatally wounded Defender Strange tumbles with America through a starred portal, and the camera work of Sam Raimi and director of photography John Matheson rotate in a really fun way.
Rotating Raimi!
Hothead shot.
Having seen all of this as a dream. Now, this movie actually defines all of dreams as us seeing into the lives of our multiversal selves, a concept that has been explored in real-world metaphysics, but in the MCU poses some interesting questions. Were the nightmares Wanda gave the Avengers in Age of Ultron visions of other universes? Tony's dream that he told Pepper about in Infinity War?
Last night, I dreamt we had a kid. So real. We named him after your eccentric uncle. What was his name?
Right.
Morgan.
Of course, they would eventually have a kid named Morgan, so Tony's dream there likely was an alternate universe. So Strange glances over at his broken wristwatch, the one from the 2016 film given to him by Christine Palmer and broken by robbers outside Kamartage, a watch face that he left broken to reflect the unhealable wound of his hands and his mastery of the mystic and the mental over the physical. In this film, the watch symbol evolves to symbolize his forever broken relationship with Christine and how that's actually okay. Strange uses magic to tie his tie, a reminder that his hands are still damaged from his accident in the 2016 film. His hands truly are his unhealable wound. At the wedding, he passes this mom with 2 sons. Just a little echo of the conflict that he's about to face with Wanda, trying to reunite with her sons, who are roughly the same age.
Oh, they're just background extras, whatever.
2016 film, and reveals he too dusted in the blip and lost 2 cats and, oh yeah, a brother too. He ponders if there could have been any other path Strange might have taken in Infinity War, and by having to think about this, Strange faces that his sacrifice play of the Time Stone, while it eventually led to the Avengers being able to fix things, sort of, in Endgame, it also left survivors living with the emotional toll of that conflict. And in Wanda's case, Thanos using that same Time Stone to render her heartbreaking killing of Vision meaningless. Strange turns a glass of water into wine, friggin' Jesus over here, also reminding us of when he refilled Thor's beer mug in Ragnarok. Really the best way to use magic, if you ask me. Strange apologizes, saying that he made sacrifices to protect Christine, but that he's glad she's happy. Really, this whole movie is a tug of war between sacrifice on one hand and happiness on the other. Our heroes begin this movie thinking that sacrifice comes at the cost of personal happiness, but must learn by the end of the film that sacrifice and what we think we want is really how we find deeper fulfillment and inner peace.
But it also seems to have this weird, interesting layer that happiness is not something you just achieve.
It's not a destination that you just stay at ever, and it's not something that like a huge goal can create for you, yeah.
Because that question is posed often. That's what makes Sinister Strange go sinister. In his story, when according to him, when he says Christine asked him, like, are you happy? And then he went home and he's like, no, I'm not. Incursion time!
Collide all the universes together.
But by the end of the movie, he's talking to Wong and he's saying, like, you think saving the universe would make you happy, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Then he goes, incursion time!
Incursion time! Ungrateful swine!
Strange hears a commotion outside and tugs his red pocket square, revealing it as his cloak of levitation. And you would not believe the shit I got in trailer breakdowns for theorizing that that pocket square was his cloak. I love how he summons it in free fall.
Yeah, you clap back.
Tony Stark being caught by the Mark 7 armor while falling in the Avengers film. Now, this beast is initially invisible, similar to how the supernatural forces of Moon Knight are initially invisible to onlookers, but Strange decloaks it to reveal the squid monster of Gargantos, a lesser-known comics foe to Namor the Submariner. And I love how the animators use his single eye to characterize him. His surprise when Strange dismantles a bus, his eyelid crease to show anger, his pupil dilation when Strange severs his tentacle, and of course,
a lot of great detail.
Shit, when the eye is about to get skewered. Now, Danny Elfman's
a lot of personality.
This whole film with a madcap, feverish energy, and here he uses some great horns.
Oh, I love the music so much. So good.
So sinister.
Evoking Masorgi's Night on Bald Mountain, aka
Yes, there you go. Bum, bum, bum,
The
bum.
back of the bus has an ad for La Llave Coffee, unlock a better day. La Llave being Spanish for key, a hint at Strange's upcoming quest to use his watch to unlock the back door, and also this
1,000%.
Spanish-speaking superhero being the key to his multiverse. Also nearby is an ad for the magic, a celestial tea, and when Strange jumps on a taxi, there's a sign behind him for
a real brand.
which might be a nod to Stan Lee, whose real name was Stanley.
no, might definitely.
What?
Tribute to him with Stan Lee's pizza. Wong shows up to try to restrain Gargantos. Gargantos uses one of his suction cuffs to detach his kunai, maybe showing how he does have some defensive moves against the kinds of attacks Namor might hit him with. He scales a building, Sam Raimi evoking his sequence with Doc Ock scaling the building in
call.
2004 Spider-Man 2.
Honestly, right when he jumped off the ledge and just started going into New York, that's when I had the thought of this feels like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like this feels like Doctor Strange on the other side of New York while Spider-Man is fighting something more grounded. And
Yeah, well, he's quipping and thwipping. Yeah.
well, Doctor Strange is dealing with this, but it felt like this is the Raimi world at that moment, his New York world, and I love that, and just something like this even more so. There was a moment that Eric did not point out where a guy is on a motorcycle and he crashes into Gargantos, and the second time around I was going, what was that guy thinking he could do?
I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna sacrifice myself for everyone.
Make you proud, Mom and Dad!
My life's been leading to this one moment.
Back at the wedding, behind Christine and Charlie, is a cameo by this movie's screenwriter, Michael Waldron. Strange
Oh,
uses
shit!
his giant
I saw his name in the
hands to
credits,
use
so I was
the lamppost
wondering
to
where.
javelin Gargantos in the eye, and then pops that eye out with its connective tissue looking a lot like Sam Raimi's hilarious flying eyeball in Evil Dead 2. Strange and Wong mentioned their recent deal with Spider-Man and No Way Home, and America asks if he shoots webs out of his butt, referencing how Tom Holland Peter and Andrew Garfield Peter were both pretty grossed out by how Tobey Maguire Peter's webbing.
Multiverse it!
There is one that does. You know it's out
Just
there.
come out of your wrists, or does it come out of anywhere else?
Only the wrists.
Now wait, didn't Strange and Wong forget about everything after that movie's final memory wipe spell? Well, not exactly. They only forgot who Peter Parker is. They still remember a masked Spider-Man being part of their history. Like notice here, they never call him Peter Parker and aren't really sure how his webbing works, just to further prove that he's just back to being a stranger to them, but they still know of a Spider-Man existing in this universe.
Wait a minute, that scene there, I didn't even question that at the time.
I know.
I just go with the flow.
Hey,
right?
bug-themed heroes.
Wasn't
alright.
even like, don't people forget? The way he recounts his multiverse experience dealing with Spider-Man, what would he remember about multiverse with Spider-Man? Just every moment where
It's a really
Peter Parker
patchy
had his
memory.
mask on?
Yeah, it's a really patchy memory, and it's only those moments. That's literally how
That's
it feels.
such a big question now. That's a big question mark.
Because, yeah, it's like the spell says you erase Peter Parker from everyone's mind, so that must just leave these, like, weird, gappy Spider-Man recollections.
Because the multiverse thing all happened because he was literally interacting with Tom Holland because he was like, I want to go to college.
None of that retains. Maybe he remembers all those things as just him talking to a masked Spider-Man now. Maybe that's how it works.
But he talked to those other Spider-Men who didn't have masks on. Whatever.
But he doesn't know who any of them are now either.
That's true.
Because he doesn't know any Peter's Parker. I think that movie is going to cause
we can't figure
questions
this
forever.
out.
America shows them Defender Strange's corpse on the Sanctum roof, and Strange buries him up there, saying that he's, quote, buried worse. And I'm dying to know who else in Strange's life that he has buried and where. Now, they realize that the matching
Ex-girlfriend?
runes on the two beasts was witchcraft, and so we return to Wanda's kitchen in Westview using the same WandaVision episode 2 Bewitched-inspired intro music, just composed by the Lopezes. In this kitchen, they have a hamster cage labeled Max, maybe short for Maximoff, replacing poor Sparky the dog. Billy and Tommy return here, back to wearing the same red and green colors as Wiccan and Speed do in the comics. Wanda wakes up from this dream alone in her bed, and I love how the warm golden color tone of the room shifts to a colder gray.
desaturation.
Just another example of dreams being windows into our alternate selves. Then Wanda prunes branches in an apple orchard. Just really cool symbolism here. She says apples eventually, as they haven't yet borne fruit, as her efforts to produce a life with her sons has also been fruitless. She prunes arid branches, paralleling the ways He Who Remains in the TVA would prune
Yeah, good call.
over the multiverse, kind of like how Wanda has been using the Darkhold to X off universes without her sons in them. And these being apples definitely reminds us of the poisoned apple of the Witch Queen of Snow White, which actually gets a cameo later on in this film.
Gotta say, I bet the production design and Michael Waldron, when they watch this video, they're gonna be like, wow, this guy's making it sound like we really thought of those things.
I'm impressed by the things we accidentally put in here.
I just needed to have her prune stuff.
You know,
As an activity, since you can't have talking heads in a scene.
Sam just said, hey, have some business. I don't know, give her some shears.
It's a veneer. Just let it be.
You know? Everything in the film is intentional. That's what they teach you in school.
Strange says the flowers smell real, and Wanda claims she put reality warping witchcraft behind her after Westview. Yet even here, the simulation seems real enough to nearly fool Strange. They chat.
What do you know about the multiverse?
Viz had his theories. He believed it was dangerous.
And then she drops the branches in a crate labeled Volkers or Volkers. Now in the comics, Wendell Volker is an academic who, along with Reed Richards, discovers that Baron Zemo has traveled back in time in a 2007 Thunderbolt story. I don't know, maybe this
sexy.
is on a Sokovian estate that Wanda has overtaken temporarily, somewhere close to that mountain cabin we saw her in. Wanda says there are other Avengers, and Strange mentions the Archer with the Mohawk and several bug-themed crime fighters, of course referring to Hawkeye, Ant-Man, the Wasp.
Hawkeye doesn't have a mohawk anymore.
No, bring back the Hawk.
And he says,
We'll get you back on the lunchbox.
there actually is a vintage Marvel superheroes lunchbox with Spider-Man, Cap, and Thor on the front, Fantastic Four on the back, and on the sides, Scarlet Witch, Daredevil, and Yellow Jacket. Wanda mistakes using America's name when Strange hadn't yet, so she drops the illusion that red hex
Rookie
looking
mistake.
just as it did when it warped the structures of Westview and WandaVision. All of this coming from the Darkhold, Marvel's Book of the Damned, which Wanda got from the witch Agatha Harkness in WandaVision. This whole dead landscape is likely near that mountain cabin. From the WandaVision post-credit scene, all the plants now rotting more and more as the Darkhold corrupts the landscape. And actually, in the background of this burnt orchard are the ruins of some structure. That was probably what the large house was when the illusion was up. That structure might be the cabin she was in the WandaVision post-credit scene. Wanda's Scarlet Witch wardrobe has evolved since we last saw it in WandaVision. Scratches radiate from the heart region, showing how her fracturing of reality all stems
Boobs!
from the broken heart. And the stitching on the collar leaves an
Gotta
opening
have
in the shape of Vision's Mind Stone, reflecting how that heartbreak began when she had to shatter her love's mind in Infinity War. Wanda says America's
Cool.
sacrifice would be
Wow.
for the greater good, which Strange says is
The
justification of
greater
their enemies.
good.
But it's also essentially what Defender Strange told America. So when Wanda criticizes Strange for giving up the Time Stone in Infinity War so that Thanos could render her heartbreaking sacrifices to her vision pointless, she's totally right. Strange is a hypocrite.
That doesn't seem fair.
This whole movie's a Strange being told. You can't sacrifice people! Stop sacrificing people, Strange!
You suck, Strange. You always go too far and you sacrifice your friends. You're the worst.
Stop it!
The worst of the universe.
You're gonna sacrifice people? I can sacrifice people!
Universe, you're the worst.
What was the question you posed yesterday?
Oh, about that realm, like when she drops the facade, like where exactly are we? I mean, the explanation that it's like corrupted due to Darkhold magic actually makes the most sense to me, because I was like, are we still on Earth when she dropped the facade? I was like, where on Earth looks like this and has a sun that big?
So the land itself was corrupted by Darkhold magic.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what I'm choosing to believe.
Wow. Damn. That Darkhold. Darkhold of madness.
Back at Kamartage, Wong explains that the Scarlet Witch was prophesied to either rule or annihilate the cosmos, recalling what Agatha read from the Darkhold.
Your power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. It's your destiny to destroy the world.
Kamartage mounts its defenses. Master Amir returns in the 2016 film, and we meet Sarah, likely based on Wong's romantic partner of Sarah Wolf in the comics, and the Minotaur sorcerer of Rintra, also from the comics. Sorcerers from the Hong Kong and London sanctums join them. Remember, the 2016 film established the three sanctums of Earth being in New York, London, and Hong Kong. And behind that one guy, the portal to London has one of the city's signature red flags, because that always means London.
London!
And Big Ben?
Attack on the Emerald City, writing "Surrender, Dorothy," and "Smoke." This being another witch demanding the magic girl from another reality give herself
That's a
up so she can
great
use her
call.
powers to power.
Damn.
Actually, you can map this whole movie over the Wizard of Oz. The shots of them running along a brick road. Defender Strange being the brainless scarecrow who ends up wobbling around puppeted. Our Strange, the heartless Tin Man who cuts. Wong, the lion who gets his nerve. The Illuminati, of course, the great and powerful Oz, ultimately proving to be total liars. Variant Christine, Glinda the Good Witch, who ultimately teaches Strange that there's no place like his home reality. I mean, The Wizard of Oz is one of the coolest, scariest, and most visually inventive films of all time. Any multiverse movie is right to follow its lead.
That Sam Raimi's just out to make a good version of Oz the Great and the Powerful.
See, guys? See, it wasn't my fault.
I could have done it the way they wanted me to. I wanted to do it, but they made me do it a certain way.
Let me do it better here than over there, just to prove myself again.
I just wanted to remake Wizard of Oz.
I promise not to take 10 years away from making movies again.
That is a really great parallel. You know, sometimes things sound like they're reaching in anyone's breakdown or Easter egg video. Never us, though. If we ever theorize, we're always right on the money, especially when it came to this movie. All 46 cameos came true. That actually sounds very plausible, and that this is part of the intention was sort of mapping it around it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I never thought of The Wizard of Oz through the lens of a multiverse travel adventure, but I think, yeah, it's such a great stand-in or a great sort of thing to swap out because, yeah, even though, you know, you basically go from reality to Oz, there's still all these other places that look very unique inside of it, and yeah, all the different characters matter.
And also about Strange doing a musical number about growing a heart.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
And all the flying monkeys.
Wanda probes the Kamartage barrier and then finds a sneakier way in by whispering into the mind of one sorcerer, similar to how she dismantled the Avengers in Age of Ultron by implanting visions in their temples and just freaking them out. She blasts the hell out of Kamartage, all of its artillery and its archers, leaving one poor sorcerer in pain that she just obliterates, which seems cruel at first, but the guy was also in a lot of pain. You could also read as an act of mercy. Strange traps Wanda in a mirror dimension.
Real as well.
That's too. Reality warping witch.
Wanda's fingertips have turned black, the way Agatha's did in WandaVision when she used magic derived from the Darkhold.
Or when John wipes his butt.
The camera glides and distorts as doors slam. Raimi shoots all of this with the same claustrophobia and external evil trying to break in that made the Evil Dead so fun. And like the possessed woman there, we only see the demon hands reaching up to grab people, which is also the kind of imagery Raimi used to Drag Me to Hell. Strange realizes Wanda is using reflective surfaces to get in, and as they rush to cover each mirror and puddle, on the first one that Strange covers, for just a few frames, Raimi sneaks in one of Wanda's eyes glaring up at Strange.
Oh, nice.
Creepy.
Oh, wow.
Wanda's eye returns to scare America, and then her hand reaches out through the gong as she crawls in.
I love that shot.
Yeah.
So J-horror, yeah.
Exactly. Or The Grudge, which Sam Raimi produced the remake of.
Absorbed and weaponized in What If episode 4, and Wanda begins to drain America's power, so Strange dives into America and they tumble through the multiverse, and it is insane.
This is the madness.
A dimension with 3 cloaked heads. These are the faces of the Living Tribunal, the ultimate legal cosmic entity in Marvel lore who oversees natural law of the multiverse, with 3 faces representing necessity, equity, and revenge. I like how here they are not on the same head, just 3 different heads. Maybe a way this universe in the 4th dimensional space shows how they would look from a 4th dimensional being. In the Infinity Gauntlet comics, the Living Tribunal acquitted Thanos for snapping away half of all life, and the Infinity War writer said that they actually drafted a scene where Strange and Thanos would have faced the Living Tribunal during their wizard duel. Then they enter this
and now you can just pass through them.
Toward a glowing source. Kind of looks like a mix of the Celestials, World Forge, and Eternals, but I think we might be seeing Cerebro, Professor X's famous way of connecting with all the minds of mutants. Then they fall through a freaking beehive filled with bees lined with
Is that what it was?
Yeah, okay. I was wondering.
Landing on America's finger that first triggered her fear and opened the star portals that took her moms from her. Is this what the hexagons and the beekeeper from WandaVision were all about? Can someone tell me, please? Then they're underwater.
Maybe, yeah.
Reef, and some of those fish swim out with them back in the open air New York, where they pass taxis with the ads Grindhouse Releasing, which is a company that remasters cult films that partnered with Sam Raimi to restore the Evil Dead, and it's run by Bob Morosky.
Bob Gomorowski, who also
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually filled with Stark drones from Spider-Man Far From Home. Perhaps it's a reality where they overthrew humanity. Then a hellish space filled with bones, true fire and brimstone.
Doom.
Strange runs into a pile of skulls. Other skeletons are climbing lampposts made out of spines. All the buildings are made of bones. I mean, I would say this is just the MCU hell, but this movie also shows us like multiple possible hells. And Moon Knight did just explain that the MCU afterlives of the Egyptian underworld and the Wakandan ancestral plane are actually part of the same realm, just subjectively taking the form of whatever the believer believes.
Spoilers.
So these various hells might be part of that same belief-oriented afterlife system. Next, a universe with a T-Rex fighting a Triceratops. Then an animated universe with some goofy marching band music. Now, this is not exactly the animated style from What If, and they do pass that Jonas and James sign, so this is actually the same spot where they fought Gargantos. Then this interesting reality with the wreckage of some propeller plane with green flames. I don't know, I thought maybe this could be the Valkyrie plane from the first Cap film if it had made it to its intended target of New York. Then a reality where everything takes a cubic form. I just love how the break line between the blocks separates on the teeth of Strange's open mouth. Then Then they shipped into sloshing paint, a reality where America says she's been trapped in before, making it really hard to eat. Then, I love this, an old-timey film desaturated with wear on the celluloid, showing 1930s New York, Model T's the Brooklyn Bridge in a blimp overhead. This is the world that Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes grew up in. Then this interesting alien setting that also looks a bit ancient because it includes a Stonehenge configuration. Now remember, Thor the Dark World suggested Stonehenge was part of a coordinate layout to triangulate the convergence. Maybe this is the alien society who helped lay out those coordinates. Then two more futuristic looking realities. Then a rocky volcanic setting with lava rivers looking a lot like Mustafar from the Star Wars universe. Actually, in a similar montage in What If Episode 8, Ultron Infinity and the Watcher, that also looked a lot like Mustafar. And they land in Dimension 838.
Can you imagine? Thor Ragnarok even had one of the Star Wars jets. That's what they call them, right? Where's your jet, Luke?
Jet, like an X-Wing?
X-Wing, yeah.
Well, then it's canon now.
Yeah,
it's absolutely canon now.
How cool would it be if they did manage to connect it to Star Wars? What this reminded me of, because there's been complaints of people saying, like, there's not enough multiverse action in here, like, actually going through the multiverse. And I remember we joked around when we saw the shortened version of that clip. It's going to be like X-Men Origins Wolverine, where you see the trailer for Origins Wolverine, you go, wow, we're going to explore so much. Then you realize it's just a quick montage. Now, this did way more than Origins Wolverine, but I wasn't expecting to be almost right about that. Like, oh, yeah, we made them go to like 2 universes.
Yeah, that montage is the thing that contains the most, like, wow, just imaginative craziness.
Yeah, and like pointing out the details goes, yo, that's cool, but there's no way anyone's taking away emotional substance or context from it other than, look how cool that is.
Yeah, I want to spend 5 minutes in each of these.
Yeah, why not? But no, it's still an awesome. I still think it's beautifully realized. Like every time I just watch it, I'm like, wow, it's so good. And in some ways, I kind of like the fact that if you slow it down, you'll get some more from it. You know?
Yeah.
That's why Canadian Lad does so well.
Yeah, everything's slow.
I watched this at 0.1% speed.
0.00001 speed. And I learned nothing.
I learned that I could speed this up a little bit and get the same amount of context.
I learned that if you slow things down enough, everything sounds like whale song.
And they land in Dimension 838, a utopian Manhattan covered with plant life and wind turbines, all built into the skyscrapers. The Empire State Building has a waterfall coming from it. This actually seems like the direction 616 Manhattan was going in the MCU, with Far From Home revealing a new atrium constructed into the Avengers Tower, and various Fantastic Four hints at the ground level. All the advances of this reality were almost certainly innovations of Reed Richards. They're on the roof of the 838 Sanctum. You can actually see the same greenhouse and mound where Defender Strange was buried back in 616. Strange said he had been on weird trips before, of course referring to the similar multiverse montage from the 2016 film.
And the drugs he took.
Really cool. All the citizens wear monochromatic colors, which might just be a hint at the cold functionality of this society, the emphasis being on natural beauty over the artificial kind of beauty of fashion. And just visually for the sequence, it helps Strange and America stick out like sore thumbs here. Also, a little detail I thought was interesting. If you look around, pretty much everyone is carrying an umbrella that might be connected to those rainbow colored clouds overhead, which might be an indicator that in this universe, rain and weather patterns are actually artificially controlled, scheduled on clockwork, coordinated by Reed Richards, maybe by Aurora Monroe's storm as well. A measure that they take to help combat climate change, ensure plant life is properly hydrated, and the people who live here just kind of have to deal with rain being part of their lives all the time. Of course, the traffic colors are reversed, green for stop, thus the X's, red for go, thus the arrows. Now, the fact that 838 proceeds on red when we would stop does foreshadow how the foolish Illuminati is gonna proceed on the Scarlet Witch when they definitely should not. Our man Bruce Campbell cameos. Sam Raimi's star from the Evil Dead films, who cameoed in all 3 of his Spider-Man movies. And all those characters were actually planned to be Mysterio, Quentin Beck.
I thought they were gonna go there.
I know.
Before Sony canceled it. Here Campbell's playing Pizza Papa, a vendor who sells pizza balls.
Time to deliver a pizza ball.
Strange curses his hand to punch himself in the face for 3 weeks. A nod to Ash's cursed hand in Evil Dead 2.
You see, all these things you were saying about Earth 838, when you elaborate more on what they could possibly mean, that really makes me feel like I missed out on something to explore. Because you could be right. I mean, everything you're saying sounds accurate. You know, like, why do they all have umbrellas? Why are there rainbow clouds? Does it have something to do with that? And the fact of this, like, color coordination kind of evoking a sense that there's a little the kind of a judgmental society in certain ways.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about like the coldness of the Illuminati, and I feel like that would probably enhance the presentation of when you do catch up with the Illuminati, of understanding the society and the world that they're at a little bit more. Just would have been so awesome. I would have loved that, man. Now I feel that this is supposed to enhance my experience, and it is, but it's also making me wish it was longer.
Well, yeah, because the first thing America says is like, first rule of multiversal travel is you don't know anything. And I'm like, I want to learn a little bit about every one of these worlds, and the plot has to move so fast that you get the
We
chance
did
to
learn. Red means go.
Red means go. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry.
Pizza balls. Which apparently exists on another Earth.
Why don't they exist here?
A memory lane bank reveals the flashbacks of Christine giving Stephen that watch, and America's origin losing her mothers in the utopian parallel. But in the comics, this was not America's fault, or even the Bee's fault, and really her mothers sacrificed themselves and ended up disintegrating to becoming part of the universe. But here in the MCU, it's hinted that her moms might still be alive. So they arrive at the 838 Sanctum and the statue of Supreme Strange, which has been built out into the street from the sidewalks. The cars have to go around it and all look at it and pay respect. The plaque reads, Dr. Stephen Strange gave his life defeating Thanos. We express eternal gratitude to Earth's mightiest hero. Earth's mightiest hero, of course, the nickname for the Avengers in comics. There's a rare bookshop on the other side of the street called McCloud's, which could be a nod to comics writer Bob McCloud, who co-created The New Mutants with Chris Claremont. Mordo returns in the 2016 film. Strange says Mordo dedicated his life to trying to kill him, referring to that movie's post-credit scene where Mordo turned against all sorcerers.
Too many sorcerers.
We never got to see any real conflict between them.
Yeah, I know.
Mordo confirms Darkhold
kind of
exist in every universe.
something I wish.
It's a concept
Doctor
of
Strange 5.
dreamwalking, projecting one's consciousness into one's alternate self. And over this, Raimi shows cross-dissolving montages of Wanda's ritual.
bit.
The visuals evoke the dream sequence of Rosemary's Baby. There's surrealism, superimposed shots, close-ups of the eyes, and I love how Danny
Symmetry.
Elfman scores this with rock. We hear some drums, electric guitar. Really, this is a sound of witchcraft in the 90s to me, like The Craft, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I very much dig it.
Every time I watch that sequence, I think of Robert Rodriguez specifically.
Oh, good call. Yeah, totally.
It's exactly what Robert Rodriguez would do.
that like moody rock and roll thing.
With the dissolves.
Yeah, the dissolves and the sort of like, ooh, intriguing, you know, mysterious.
Such a Robert Rodriguez motif. Most of the way this movie's shot, I immediately associate with other Sam Raimi things I've seen. But that's the one time I'm like, oh, got a little bit of Rodriguez in here.
Let Rodriguez direct a Marvel, you cowards.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I want
don't,
it.
please don't do it.
I want it.
I'm begging you, Marvel.
If he doesn't do a Star Wars, that's the price. He won't do any more Star Wars. He can do some Marvels.
Don't do it, Rodriguez. Black Cat Witchcraft.
But Mordo drugged the tea with green powder that also powers the cuffs, called the Sands of Nisanti, a spell from the comics that prevents the usage of magic for 3 minutes. Wanda dreamwalks into another universe's Westview house. The camera voyeuristically glides in and peeks out from behind the staircase. These point of view shots evoking John Carpenter's opening shots of Halloween. The way Wanda creeps in here is very much like a stalker.
Yeah, she's a freaking pervert.
White cartoon of Oswald and
go
Hortensia, a 1928 Walt Disney short called The Skyscrapers. Now, Walt Disney made Oswald shorts for Universal before a contract dispute led to him launching Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie. So
Miguel.
Oswald has actually gained a cult following over the years as the Mickey who could have been. And I just love how he shows up here
Poor
in
outcast.
this alternate universe.
That's
Birthday
so
photo of
cool.
Wanda
I
turns
love
to
that.
stare at her.
Even Disney honored it.
The champagne
Yeah.
is still frozen mid-spill. The peas roll around on the plate, evoking the way the food squirmed around in the kitchen in Poltergeist. An ocean churns in the coffee cup, an early sign of the incursions that Dreamwalking risks. An ocean similarly crashed through the post-incursion universe of Sinister Strange. And
Nice,
Dreamwalking
good
Wanda
guess.
takes control of this Wanda, giving us this chilling moment when Elizabeth Olsen looks directly at the camera, breaking the fourth wall, as if to tell all of us, I see you.
I love
Spooky-
it.
Spooky horror trope that we've seen in the closing shots of horror films like Psycho and Paranormal Activity.
Those shots are like ending shots, though.
Yeah,
You know, there's
yeah.
something that
It's
was
like,
so
gotcha.
eerie about in the middle of the movie when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's so striking.
It's spooky. So spooky.
In that moment, I like to think that she just popped out behind every audience member and whispered something in our ears.
Get a refund. Go to the bathroom now. Refill your popcorn.
How'd you like that Avatar trailer?
Sarah breaks Wanda out of this dreamwalking state by stabbing the Darkhold, and Sarah burns, crying a
The
single
love
tear.
of
So Wanda
Wong's
turns to
life.
torturing Rintra and the others to get Wong to confess that the Darkhold was actually a copy of the spells carved into the walls of the temple on Mount Wundagore, which in the comics was a place where the demon Cthulhu inscribed the spells that were eventually drafted into the Darkhold book. This is also the mountain where, in some comics, Wanda and Pietro were actually born, in the castle of the High Evolutionary. We got a nod to that comic backstory in WandaVision with the sighting of Bova Milk, Bova being one of the High Evolutionary's Annie-men who nursed Wanda and Pietro. Wundagore Mountain is where Chthon initially cursed Wanda as a baby, though in the 616 MCU, WandaVision established that she was born to Irina and Oleg Maximoff in Sokovia. Though in that flashback, Wanda showed she already had, as a girl, low-level probability hex capabilities. So it remains to be seen if the MCU will trace that back to Chthon's curse, or if they're going to define Wanda as a mutant, or both. Wong takes Wanda to that temple,
all of the
above, to look exactly like the Scarlet Witch page of the Darkhold that we saw in WandaVision episode 9. This temple's guarded by hulking creatures that may be based on the N'Garai, Chthon's elder spawn minions from the comics, but when they take a knee, Wanda realizes that the chamber isn't a tomb, but a throne.
Doesn't Wong directly say at one point, like, this is something Chthon built? The elder demon Chthon? It's a line that's kind of easy to miss for some reason. Like, I didn't catch it at all the first time I watched it.
I did, but I feel like it is right after a moment that maybe is like a crowd response
expositionally explaining what's on the wall. I do wish these minions actually did something in the movie.
You know, they threw a rock at Wong. At one point.
Throw.
It was a good rock throw, yeah.
It's a good rock throw.
They subverted expectations by bowing.
There's a Darkhold in the 838 universe. Can that Wanda also become a Scarlet Witch? You guys are going to tell me no, because Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being, but they don't talk about Nexus beings at all in this movie.
So yeah, it's like, is this Wanda the only Scarlet Witch and the rest are just Wandas with slighter powers?
And where's other Wanda's husband?
He's drunk at the bar. Bad universe.
Vision's just
deadbeat Vision.
Normal human.
Yeah.
He's the office dad worker in the first episode of WandaVision.
In this universe, Vision was based on Windows 7 technology instead of Ultron technology, so he's really lagging.
The altar she stands on is actually carved with that same horned head figure as we saw on the Darkhold cover. This is perhaps the horned form of Chthon from the comics. Meanwhile, Variant Christine explains that they are in Dimension 838, and she has designated Strange's home universe as 616. 616 is the numerical designation of the primary universe in the comics, and until now, the MCU has really been considered Earth 19999999, based on a joke by Kevin Feige that he planned for the MCU to run for that many years, but now it is firmly codified as 616, which was hinted at in the TVA's film strip in Loki episode 1, and an Easter egg on a storage locker in Endgame, and interestingly, Mysterio's line from Far From Home.
There are multiple realities, Peter. This is Earth, Dimension 616. I'm from Earth 833.
Now, Quentin Beck was lying in that moment. He was reciting a script written by Guterman, so it's just a total uncanny coincidence that they chose the correct numerical
Guterman's a multiverse traveler!
Guterman origins.
Now, Christine compares 616 Steven to 838 Steven using his hand injuries, a kind of multiversal fingerprint. So, like for Peter Parker, losing a parent figure and the with great power quote are absolute constants for those variants, their hand injuries are the constant. And on that screen, you can see Steven's cell is D23, which is a Disney Easter egg. D23, the year Walt Disney founded his animation studio. Christine says that this is the Baxter Foundation, a nod, of course, to the Baxter building, headquarters of the Fantastic Four in the comics. Strange speculates that this could be part of the Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra. Hydra was an organization that was tracking Strange since 2014's Captain America Winter Soldier.
What targets? You, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat.
That being the first time we heard Stephen Strange mentioned in the MCU. But Mordo declares,
The Illuminati will see you now.
the Illuminati in the Marvel Comics is a 6-member group of leaders representing different super factions. You got Tony Stark, leader of the Avengers, Charles Xavier, leader of Mutant Kind, Reed Richards, leader of the Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, Black Bolt, leader of the Inhumans, and Namor, King of Atlantis. As is the case here, though, their meddling often gets in their own way. Serving the Illuminati are these Ultron sentries, which are actually voiced by actor Ross Marquand, who voiced Ultron in What If and Red Skull in Infinity War. Now, the Baxter Foundation HQ is in central part of 838 Manhattan, and the interior is modeled on the lobby of the British Museum of London. Mordo introduces the 838 Illuminati lineup, including himself, naming himself Baron Carl Mordo, the character's name from the comics. Strange dodges the Union Jack shield of Captain Carter, leader of the 838 Avengers, played by Haley Atwell, looking just as she does in What If, so presumably there are other Avengers in this 838 universe. Then there's Captain Marvel, Maria Rambeau, Defender of the Cosmos, Lashana Lynch returning from the 2019 Captain Marvel film, presumably from a history where Maria, not Carol Danvers, was irradiated by that Lightspeed engine. Then Black Agar Boltagun, aka Black Bolt, leader of the Inhumans and keeper of the Terrigen Mist. Anson Mount reprises the role from ABC's short-lived Inhuman series. Now, Inhumans are superpowered genetic experiments created by the Kree Raimi who live on the moon. Black Bolt's voice releases a powerful sonic blast, so the guy rarely talks. Here, he's seen with this tuning fork headgear from the comics. Terrigen Mist, meanwhile, is the Kree technology that creates Inhumans via cocoon. We actually saw this process with Quake in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Terrigen Mist may tie into Miss Marvel, since that is how Kamala Khan gets her powers in the comics, though the Disney Plus series may be going in a different direction. Then of course, Reed Richards, aka the Elastic Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four, played by fan-cast Dreamboat John Krasinski. I like how he teleports in via this square portal, which is a completely new kind of tech than we've seen in the MCU. Seems very much like the kind of tech Richards and Dr. Doom use in the comics.
It does fascinate me though. I do believe there were supposed to be 7 people on the Illuminati seat. And I've seen photos that are like the Illuminati who's sitting there, and I count 7 chairs.
I've seen
because there's only 6 right now.
Yeah.
So who's the 7th? I'm like, there's Ultron bots. So if there's Ultron, that must mean there was an Iron Man who created Ultron. In part of this, like, trimmed down from 2 hours and 40 to 2 hours and reshooting, did they cut out an Iron Man cameo? Would they do that to Tom Cruise?
It just seems so weird. Like, I can't figure out what the point would be. Taking him out if they shot that. Even if people had heard, you know, if the rumors flying around or whatever, it's still one of those things where if, like, you don't confirm it, people are still going to lose their minds.
Were they just misleading us? Normally it's put less people in there, and then when they watch the movie, there will be more.
Exactly.
Now it's like, put more in there, and then they watch it, there's going to be 1 less.
Yeah. That's the new irony, is that they're going to market us with something way more broad looking and they give us something a lot more
Don't take notes from Sony.
No.
Strange asks if the Fantastic Four, quote, charted in the 60s, of course comparing them to the Beatles, so like the way Bruce Banner talked about the Avengers and Infinity War.
Broke up? Like a band? Like the Beatles?
And the way Toby and Andrew thought the Avengers was a band in No Way Home.
Wait, you don't have the Avengers?
Is that a band? Are you in a band?
Now, Strange is probably just joking, but Ant-Man director Peyton Reed did pitch doing a Fantastic Four movie set in the 60s, like the Beatles movie A Hard Day's Night, and many of us have speculated that the Fantastic Four could have existed in the 60s of the 616 MCU.
And are in the quantum realm.
The way that in Silver Age comics, the Fantastic Four and Hank Pym Ant-Man all kind of work together. Now, Reed explains that Strange's arrival at 838 risks an incursion, which is a term in Marvel Comics for when universes collide, like a series of incursions between Earth.
What it's like when worlds collide.
1610, the universe of Miles Morales, is what led to the 2015 Secret Wars event, when all these variant heroes and villains met in Doctor Doom's battle world, which is why many believe that the MCU might be headed toward a similar event in a 5th Avengers crossover.
That would be
film,
so cool.
Which in this case might be Kang, the Conqueror, because we saw what may have been incursions in the MCU in Miss Minute's intro video in Loki episode 1. And Kevin Feige just confirmed that Loki and Sylvie killing that Kang variant, He Who Remains, led to the sacred timeline unraveling into various incursions, and that's really what set the stage for the crisis of this movie. And remember, the original Kang variant, Nathaniel Richards, was a 31st century descendant of Reed Richards, so really this is all connected.
Oh shit, I totally forgot about that. I at the time of watching Loki, I remember that, but damn, that is so true. Ah, that makes it even cooler.
Yes, Loki does figure it.
That does make it even cooler. Holy shit. I love that. It's a damn good breakdown.
This is a great breakdown. Second viewing made me appreciate it that much more, and now this is making me appreciate it that much more.
So how come the Spider-Man stuff didn't create incursions? Oh, no. That stuff was allowed to happen because of the situation that happened in Loki, which was an ultimate incursion. The TVA can't cause incursions for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. Are they like neutrally charged in the multiversal scheme of things, where if like they show up anywhere, they're just not going to have an effect? It doesn't seem as though, but I don't know. So many questions.
Yes. What about like an Infinity War, where they literally go to another universe? That doesn't cause an incursion?
Incursions happen when Kevin Feige says they
know what you're doing, Marvel. You never have.
And of course, the 6th member of this Illuminati floats in, Professor Charles Xavier, with Patrick Stewart returning for the Fox X-Men franchise.
We should tell him the truth.
But rather than the exact character from those films, which do have their own convoluted timeline in which Charles dies in Logan, this Charles has a yellow hover chair, a green suit, the blue and black tie, looking exactly as he does in the 90s animated series. Actually, if you listen closely, the music of this moment is Ron John Wasserman's theme music from that series. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Also, when they introduce Captain Carter, they bring in Alan Silvestri's Captain America theme. Now, there is one more chair that's left empty on this Illuminati dais, suggesting some past 7th member, or just an extra chair that they keep open. Now, those Ultron sentries might
Kevin
suggest
Feige.
a variant Iron Man, since it was
I talked too soon.
appearance of Ultron in the 616 MCU. But again, in the comics, it was Hank Pym who created Ultron, so that 7th seat could be his.
What if Hank Pym was there the whole time? It was just an Ant-Man for him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna sit back and observe. I'm not gonna jump in.
They don't even know I'm here.
Mordo thinks he's gonna cast the last vote.
That's how Mordo gets out of that hole he's in at the very end.
Yeah, Hank just jumps down. There you go, buddy.
Pull you up.
Also in the comics, the Illuminati originally reached out to T'Challa, the Black Panther, who ended up deciding not to join the group. That might be his seat, and the Ultron sentries were just created by Reed Richards. So they finally revealed the truth that during their Infinity War conflict with Thanos, 838 Stephen used the Darkhold to try to find a solution in the multiverse, but in doing so, accidentally caused an incursion that killed everyone in that alternate universe. Now, Reed does say that 838 Stephen never told them the details, so there's probably more to that backstory. Now, Charles uses his telepathy to, thank goodness, show, not tell, taking us to the day they beat Thanos using the Book of Ashanti. But look closely at Thanos' corpse. Yikes! His double-bladed Uru blade is broken and plunged into his chest. And importantly, his gauntlet does not yet have all the stones. We see the Power Stone, Space Stone, Reality Stone, and Soul Stones, but the Mind Stone is missing, which tells us that Vision may still be alive in 838. 838 Strange's fingertips.
So is that
are
Vision
showing
banging
Dark's
Wanda?
corruption on his soul, just like we saw on the fingers of Wanda and Agatha. Black Bolt whispers, "I'm sorry." And I like how his voice echoes louder and louder, with Olsen Mount recording multiple versions of this line, building up to a complete shout. It's a cool way of showing how that sonic blast obliterates Strange. Wanda uses the Darkhold Temple to dreamwalk into 838, Wanda's house. I like that little detail of her knocking over the dominoes. But this
so
also
good.
confirms to us that in the 838 dimension, Wanda had that perfect life with Billy and Tommy. So the Mind Stone being missing from Thanos' gauntlet and Vision's survival might have been the key difference there. So this possessed Wanda attacks the Baxter Foundation, and Charles tells Stephen to get to the Book of Ashanti, and he says,
"Just because someone stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever."
which is a direct quote from 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past, when Charles said this line to his younger self.
Just because someone stumbles, loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever.
Now that movie ended with Charles in his first hover chair we saw in live action film. So who knows, maybe that restored timeline from Days of Future Past didn't lead to Logan, it could have led to this. And then after finishing off
Oh,
the Ultron,
fascinating.
Wanda marches in,
Yeah, that's
covered
cool.
in their oil like it is blood, recalling that dark moment in Age of Ultron when she ripped out Ultron's heart and just let it bleed that oil. The oil streaks on her face totally evoke Sissy Spacek and Carrie,
Yeah,
which totally
love it.
influences the bloodbath Wanda unleashes here. Also the way her hand bursts out of the darkness later in her mind, reminding us of Brian De Palma's final shot in that movie.
So why didn't Wanda grab some shoes on the way out? Her feet are in pain a lot in this fight. I'm like, a couple pairs of tennis shoes might have done the trick for you. Maybe even some slippers.
She was just finished watching Moon Knight. She was like, I know I'm gonna get into some trouble here, and I can, walk around on the glass and really feel the penance for what I'm about to do, It's all connected. She should have grabbed some shoes. It doesn't make any sense.
40 minutes
I'm sorry.
later. Most dad joke I've heard so far.
Hey, it took only 40 minutes to get here.
Reed says that he has children of his own and that their mother is alive, referring to Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, and their children, Franklin Richards and Valeria Richards, and confirming that lineage that will one day lead to Nathaniel Richards, Kang. Wanda erases Black Bolt's mouth like Neo in The Matrix, and folks, this is the most horrific death we have seen in the MCU. And I hate to do this, but we gotta go through it here. Because think about it, Black Bolt does not have to scream. The guy spends most of his time not at all using his vocal cords, but it's just the panic of his mouth being erased that rattles him to his core. So he ends up making the worst possible mistake of vocalizing anything. That scream ricochets around his jaw. You can see it glowing on the other side of his skin until it amplifies and goes back into his bright
I
blood.
did not
blowing
notice
out
that.
His eyes bulging a bit, and his skull blows out the back and caving in, and his brains oozing out the side as his tuning fork flickers out. God almighty.
Holy shit! I thought Wanda just blew his head up.
Oh no. I didn't catch all the details, but yeah, it was clear. Like, oh damn, he just tried to say something and his head exploded.
I thought Wanda did that directly to him because the very next moment she makes him all silly string or some shredded cheese.
Yeah, I mean she could have eaten.
Yeah, I was red shirt at the time. Oh wow,
that is so cruel.
I know you guys are like, Greg, how did you not notice? I know the first time.
There's
Greg,
a lot
you're
going
stupid.
on.
What? Pay attention. Whatever. It's cool to see it now. So we're on the same page. Jerks. Canadian lad, I know you're in the comments.
Yeah, I'm watching this slow.
If I watched this at 0.25 speed, I would have noticed.
Right. Excuse me, projectionist.
Oh, Canadian lad, you should do that.
Oh my god. And then
rent out a theater.
down.
Guys, I'm here for do like what Soups does. We got an early screening for Thor Love and Thunder, but it's going to be special. We're going to watch this at 0.25 speed tonight.
Now everyone yell, let's go at 0.25 speed.
That'd be so good.
Then Reed makes the mistake of attacking, and Wanda unravels his elastic body into ribbons and then pops his head like a piñata. So then Peggy and Maria jump in, Peggy using jetpack thrusters that she presumably got from Reed. Peggy spits out some blood and then quotes Cap's iconic line of, "I can do this all day," but then poor Peggy gets severed at the midsection by her own shield. Actually, if you look closely, after that shield goes through, Peggy is still initially in one piece, but as the camera refocuses on the shield in the foreground, her blurry form in the background slumps forward, but in two halves. And then Wanda collapses a statue on Maria.
That's a bloody shield,
Maria,
that
can be an
first
open
strike.
coffin. I mean, each of these 4 actors must have been directed on how to emote their own deaths, but there is no way all these actors were on set with each other or told how each other would die, because they should be screaming in horror. Otherwise, these 4 must be pretty desensitized to people dying this way. Charles enters Wanda's mind,
That's a good
depicted
point.
as a white void where he's able to walk. He wears a black turtleneck, and beyond that door is a pile of rubble, including a TV set playing the intro to WandaVision episode 1. Air sirens raid in. This rebel's clearly the rebel that Wanda and Pietro were buried under in Sokovia when Stark Warhead landed in their home. But the Scarlet Witch's red cloud closes in and she snaps his neck, making this the 3rd time we have had to see Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier die. Now, all
Let's
these
do it
Marvel
2 more
heroes
times.
coming together to try
Every
to stop
Marvel
the Scarlet
movie.
Witch, who does not care who she hurts as she tries to be with her kids, are plot points inspired directly by the House of M comic event. But whereas that story goes deeper and deeper into X-Men lore, and makes some major moves on whether or not they even exist in reality, this movie's connections to mutant kind stop right here.
I did have a thought earlier today. You know how X-Men The Last Stand tried redoing X-Men The Last Stand with Dark Phoenix? I would like them down the road, which seems even more unlikely because MCU is all connected. I think Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, is so awesome in this movie. Brilliant in this movie. It would be cool to like do a more faithful House of M because she's the ultimate threat to like everyone. She could rewrite like all of reality. You know?
Yeah.
And so it would be cool to really get the epic showdown of everyone after, you know, Scarlet Witch.
Hey, 30 years down the line, I feel like we probably will start seeing like specific
Yeah.
runs adapted, maybe.
Yeah, but do a good version, not that Dark Phoenix shit, you know, like a good one.
No, just keep remaking Dark Phoenix until it's good.
And that's why I don't think they could have done that now, because it probably would have made everyone think of kind of Dark Phoenix. Like,
Yeah, that's the problem.
like, oh, woman gone crazy who was once hero. We must defeat her.
So strange American Christine flee as Wanda chases them, her eyes glowing red, looking a lot like her zombie form from those episodes of What If. They find the hatch, the waypoint to the Book of Ashanti, but it is locked, requiring a special key, Strange's wristwatch given to him by Christine. Another absolute element shared by all Stranges. So they get to the Book of Ashanti in the Gap Junction, but Wanda attacks, and a page from the book burns out, showing a star if you look closely.
Yeah.
So remember the Darkhold page showed the Scarlet Witch. This book shows America Chavez's symbol, proof that the girl was destined to be the perfect antidote to the dark sorcery of the Scarlet Witch. And Strange sees this page burn, which is how he knows what to tell America in that final act. Strange and Christine get banished to a post-incursion universe, which slowly melts. That melting looking a lot like the way reality eroded in What If Episode 4 after Strange broke an absolute point. And they pass a floating honey beige 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88, the same car Sam Raimi puts in all of
yeah.
his
Andrew Gordon told me.
Ben's car in the Spider-Man movies and appeared in the Evil Dead series and in Drag Me to Hell. Now you'll notice this incursion universe has 2 red streaks racing through it, the same color as that looming crescent shape beyond the sanctum stairway. Now kids, what are crescents? Crescents, of course, are formed by the shadow of the Earth on the moon from the light of the sun behind us. So I wonder if this crescent could be this dead world's shadow being cast on the other world that collided into it. Maybe Earth 838, the reality of 838 Strange that collided into this universe, the dimension of Sinister Strange. That could have been the unseen annihilation that the Illuminati referred to. 838 Strange might have used the Darkhold to dreamwalk into Sinister Strange, and Sinister Strange tried to cast him out, and that war between the two dragged their worlds together in a way that killed everyone in Sinister Strange's universe. That could have been the war that he lost, that he was talking about. And the guilt over winning that war might have been what 838 Strange confessed to the rest of the Illuminati. And now these 2 streaks might represent the lifelines of those 2 universes, synced, forever parallel, but never touching, yet still way too close.
Man, you know, they need to do like some Star Wars animated shit, you know? It's just like fucking just explains all this.
Fills
Like,
in all the gaps.
dives into all of it in animated show format. That'd be cool.
Dude, a supplemental Multiverse of Madness animated series, please, right
How
now.
awesome would that be?
Yeah.
They call it What If.
It is. I mean, to be fair, what if every episode starred Doctor Strange?
No, one that's like specifically a fill in the timeline, you know?
I would love that. I would adore that.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. I mean, the creepiest detail about this place is the fact that a freaking field of bones stretches in front of the sanctum. Everyone in this reality died from an incursion,
Judgment
but no
Day.
human remains are visible anywhere else. That means that these unfortunate souls of this universe fled to the sanctum, looking for sanctuary, begging this Strange to save him, and he watched as they died. Strange brings up their dead sister Donna, whom he says fell in the ice when they were kids. In the comics, Donna drowned after getting a cramp in a swimming pool.
I feel like that's a line that kind of flies over people's heads a lot. To me, the great and all-powerful Greg Alba, as I have named myself legally by law, I've submitted the papers, is that when he says that, because it's like such a specific detail that's obviously supposed to be like, okay, this is supposed to be a real Doctor Strange, but I took it as like this is a more personal motive that he still holds on to, and that's why he's so intent on like saving America Chavez as part of redemption for that, because it happened at a young age. Little girl said something about frozen lake. Star looks kind of ice frozen. I don't know. That's like the kind of shit you would say, Eric.
Yeah,
we go frozen, evoking the frozen stars,
trying to protect his new surrogate little sister from falling through the frozen ice of the multiverse.
Yeah. I was just trying to think like you, and you're not even saying that here.
Yeah, what gives? We paying you for?
Yeah, man, we pay you to like Marvel. Marvel's right.
Marvel
checks.
pays you to write Marvel.
Sinister Strange reveals a third eye on his forehead. Now, Strange sometimes has the third eye in the comics as a manifestation of the Eye of Agamotto, a way of showing the mystical sight that the Ancient One referred to when she touched this spot on his head.
Open your eye.
Oh, yeah.
But in this case, the third eye represents the twisted evil of the Darkhold, the curse of Chthon living on. These two Stranges duel. Sinister Strange's sorcery is purple, the same color of Agatha's magic, the color of the Dark Dimension in Dormammu, which is something that's going to play a very big role as Dormammu's niece, Clea, shows up in the post-credits scene to work with a Strange with three eyes. During the fight, Strange grabs the piano, making that same horror music sting that up until now in this movie has meant fear, but instead now he weaponizes the fear to lift the music notes off the page, each note making the same note it would if you were to play it on the piano. I love this music duel so much! Sinister Strange blocks the notes by conjuring the 5 lines of a scale, which is how you would contain loose notes in sheet music, and forming a new arrangement which plays as Johann Sebastian Bach's famous organ chords. Strange launches Sinister Strange out the window, impaling him on the fence like Saruman, but the third eye still opens because the evil lives. So Strange now uses the Darkhold to dreamwalk into the one Strange still left in 616, the buried Defender Strange, resurrecting the corpse. Now remember, earlier, Wong told Wanda that no sorcerer can pass the barrier to Wundagore Temple. So those souls of the damned that attack Defender Strange are not just an obstacle. Using them by turning them into a new cloak is literally the only way Strange could fly over there. This is just a really smart example of what screenwriters call economy of story. Repurposing story elements we thought were just set dressing or characterization or raised stakes, like the Defender Strange corpse, the Watch, Strange seeing a star page in the Book of Ashanti, these souls of the damned, and instead giving them new practical functions for the hero to advance. So when a bunch of nerds in your movie theater started applauding in this moment, going, yes! It isn't just because we love Sam Raimi's zombie shit. I mean, we do. It's because this moment was a culmination of all these seeds that were planted throughout the movie.
It's true. We were all like, economy of story!
Yes, good writing techniques! Yeah, man. There's a lot of good economical choices made.
Well, I think that is a great point, because how many times did we see Zombie Strange or Reanimated Strange in the trailers? Like, so much. And both times I watch it, I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, right?
And the first time I watched it, I completely forgot that could happen or supposed to come or whatever.
Yeah, and so when it starts zooming in on the plot, you're like, oh, here we go.
Like what Christine says to him, you know, there need to be a Strange alive on your Earth. And then Strange goes, who said anything about being alive?
Yeah.
Both times I'm like, oh yeah!
Yeah, no, it's such a rewardingly executed moment.
Now, when the souls of the damned attacked Christine, she banishes them with the brazier of Bomb Goliath, the same artifact Strange tried to use on Caecilius in the 2016 film.
You don't know how to use that, do you?
Oh,
so
crap.
was
Yeah.
hesitated. That thing could have banished him to hell. Strange arrives with the damned soul cape, and Wanda says, "Dreamwalking, you hypocrite!" The same thing Caecilius shouted at the Ancient One when she used dark dimension magic.
Hypocrite!
Now, realizing America's power is needed to beat Wanda, Strange repeats,
This is the only way.
So once again, we have looped back to the opening scene. A Defender Strange must once again face this moral quandary of sacrificing America.
This is what screenwriting calls coming full circle.
Coming full circle! Choice. What has changed? What makes this Strange different? Well, this Strange trusts America to control her own power because every portal she opened in this film has brought them to where they needed to go. Remember, this is the same Strange who looked at 14,605 paths and found the one correct path for his life. And so, unlike all the other Stranges who are always seeking a better life, including 838 Strange, who looked in a different universe for one, our Strange finally realizes he has gratitude for the path that he is on. Because, folks, the true ideal of America is not the pursuit of happiness, it's gratitude for what we have. So America punches Wanda first into hell.
Wow.
I love that. That's where she thinks she needs to go. But America learns that the better destination for Wanda is just to give the woman what she wants, her Westview home, where her sons actually see her true nature. Now, based on the other Wanda's bruises, this is actually 838, the same Wanda that she possessed earlier. Interesting how now on the TV is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Remember, in the alt universe, there was an alt universe Walt Disney short starring Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, but in this one, it's the iconic Walt Disney first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Also, remember, a story with an evil witch queen that haunted me as a little kid. So these poor boys are on pins and needles about an evil witch queen coming in through a portal into their living room.
Yeah, it's all great, like metaphors and shit, but really I was taken away is that these kids just have a really unproductive, unhealthy lifestyle. Wanda just feeds them like sugary, fatty foods. They sing a song about wanting to get ice cream, and they're just like sat on the couch watching TV all goddamn day.
Yeah, just arguing about baseball.
Like, read a book.
Read a comic
Aren't you
book.
the children of Wanda and Vision?
Yeah, go do something extraordinary, guys.
You guys are some lazy ass. Yeah,
You're some average ass kids.
Go outside, play catch, you know.
Develop your super speed and witchy power.
Always eating like just such shit. You're like, the last time I saw you guys, you were getting like fancy ass sweets in the kitchen, and now you want ice cream. And Wanda, like, there's an upstairs.
You can get some privacy, sister.
Is all you do watch TV with her?
Yes, this is the universe where she doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't even have to leave the house ever. She just is with them while they watch TV.
And despite being possessed into doing horrible things, this other Wanda forgives the Scarlet Witch, assuring her that these boys will be loved, telling the mother what she needs to hear. And so Wanda collapses the temple on herself.
I forgive you for murdering everyone.
And hijacking my body.
616 Wanda may be dead, we do still have this other Wanda who was there for all the craziest shit that happened in this movie. A Wanda who, remember, shares this 838 reality with mutants, with the Fantastic Four. So some version of the House of M, No More Mutants moment may be on the way in the MCU.
But that opens the question.
Yes.
Can she also be a Scarlet Witch?
Yeah, can there just be infinite numbers of this Nexus being?
Of doing no more mutants and stuff.
Yeah.
Because if it is on the way, that would mean this Wanda would have the abilities of the Scarlet Witch to do no more mutants. Even though they wiped out, like, you know, the main ones at the Illuminati.
Well, yeah. The question to me then would be, is there another way for her to achieve that without the Darkhold?
Steroids.
Oh, Wanda just becomes an addict.
See her shooting up on her butt.
Yeah.
Tommy Pillies, just watch TV.
Mom, you're huge. You gotta slow down, Mom. This isn't chaos magic, Wanda. These horses take these.
In the final scenes of this movie, Strange gets closure with Christine. He leaves America in training at Kamartage and finally gives Sorcerer Supreme Wong the bow he deserves. And most importantly, he finally fixes the broken watch. The camera transitioning from the broken lens to clarity. But that clear vision proves itself a curse in the final shot of the film. The man is seeing too well with 3 eyes as the curse of the Darkhold lives on. It's a scarlet letter for his sins and a new unhealable wound for the surgeon to suffer. Now, I broke down the post-credit scenes in another video, and we got lots of Multiverse of Madness videos coming down the pipeline. So subscribe for more takes on this insane film. And hey, if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, I'm back performing comedy live with In-Games Improv at the Stageworks Theater,
Cool.
6 Valencia
Dude,
Street
go.
in Mission. My first show coming Saturday, May 14th. Then after that, every other Saturday at the same space. Coming out with me.
Improv
It'll be fun.
reactions.
You can follow
Let's
me
do
on
it.
Instagram and Twitter at
We're moving to
EFI,
San
follow New
Francisco.
Rockstars, and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.
That was a good ass breakdown.
Good, lovely, wonderful.
Fucking no, you're wrong. They said that Wanda destroyed all the Darkholds.
Yeah.
In all the other universes.
Yeah, so if there's
that's
no
why you asked the
Darkholds-
question. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's why you're opposing the question.
I'm right.
I'm wrong. I cannot accept this.
We must fight to the death.
We must duel at dawn.
I gotta find another universe where I'm right. Out of 14 billion possibilities, I found the one reality.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Eric, you killed it, man. You editors, you did an okay job. It's all Eric.
Good job only to Eric.
Only to Eric. You other guys, you might need to reconsider finding a new job.
Yeah, get out of here with this.
Get out of here, man, because it's not looking pretty for you guys.
Find a multiverse where your skills are better appreciated.
No, you guys
Just kidding.
Amazing job. Seriously, we're just being satirical. Anyway, we'll see you guys soon. Much love to everyone, including me.